Good morning, and welcome to the Rick Helps Real Estate Show. Trying to make sense of this crazy Arizona market. I know I'm usually on Monday morning, and I'm throwing you off by jumping on here on a Wednesday. I'm just doing that to mess with your heads. Jessica and I toured a new build community yesterday. I want to let everybody know we were not invited to come out there and do a promotional video. We're just going to try and get out to a few communities, new builds, and show you what we see and kind of give you an idea what to expect when you go into one of these sales centers. And we like looking around and seeing the quality of the homes or the lack of quality of the homes. And I hope I can get out on the west side, maybe talk Ruby into joining me and taking a look at some of the homes out there as well. Yesterday we went to Gilbert, and it was fun. I like touring new builds. We're not trying to promote them. We're not trying to say, hey, this is great, you should get out there and take a peek at this. We're just doing it so that you can see what's available. Now, what I'm seeing in this market this morning, I'm going to start with the ticker down below for a moment. You can see that our mortgage rates they're still stuck, and we're almost at 20,000 listings. We will hit 20,000 on Friday. New listings dropped. It says 2539. New contracts are 2568. So what changed? Expired listings jumped up to like 780, and they always show up the first of the month. This means that there were a lot of listings, 780 listings out there that tried to sell over the summer, and the listing just expired. So their phones are ringing off the hook now. You know, realtors call them, hey, you know what? Why didn't your home sell? Was it your agent? Oh, you got the wrong agent. You should use me. And they get inundated. I wish our industry would stop that, but they don't. But anyway, so that's why that number has changed, and it will eke out as we get to next week. The expired numbers will go back to its normal of about 100, 150. But for now, it was enough to where it's pretty even. But there's some interesting data out there. And if you look at, I'm trying to put this up there. There we are. Year over year percent change in listings under contract. And you can see that we're sitting there at 13.6% increase year over year of homes that are under contract. That's kind of surprising, but not really. I mean, we had, rates drop. So contracts kind of went up a little bit, and you always hear me say a large percentage of a small number is still a small number. We're still sitting at 2,500 new contracts on a 7-day moving average. So it's still very slow. I'm still sticking to my gun saying that October, November, December are going to be very slow, but it is picking up. So we may have hit the bottom and start to turn around as far as transactions. This is the listing success rate. It has also ticked up a little bit from 72% to 74%. Not a lot. It's kind of well within the range of normal to below normal based on what we've seen the past couple of years. So nothing alarming there. If you look at number of price changes per week, went up September 15th. It went down on the week following. And let me talk about that for a second. I get a lot of comments that say, I'm seeing my neighbor's house. A lot of houses in my neighborhood have gone down by 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. And it makes you wonder. I'm struggling with the price reductions that you're seeing. Is that a declining market? I mean, it is slow, but people come in. I mean, there's a townhome I looked at. They started out at 360. Okay. Was that the right price to start out at? Obviously no, because now they're reducing the price down to 345 and it's still sitting there. So starting out at 360 was too hot. A lot of homes came in that way as well. People came out and said, well, I hope I can get this. And now they're reducing it. Does that mean the market is falling off a cliff? So there's some things to look at to say, okay, what's really going on out there? And the one thing I look at here is, average list price per square foot. I've showed this before. We started out at 368. We're at 351. And then when I filter out all the homes above 1 million, it's staying pretty flat. So they're listing consistently at about the same price. But Here's the one that's interesting, and this is the list price versus sales price per square foot. So they're listing at 299 and they're getting 293. So see how the gap has widened there? So that kind of tells me that my theory and my thoughts about people coming in too hot is true. They're listing at 299, they're not getting it now. They're getting 293. Average sales per square foot is a different story. It's not declining. Let's see if I have it here. It's gone down just a little bit. Monthly average sales price per square foot. It peaked in April at 309, and now we're down to 286. So there is some downward pricing pressure going on, not major. And while people wait for interest rates to come down and did the bond market react? It looks like, let me get rid of this. Powell says more interest rate cuts are ahead, but the Fed is not in a hurry. I highlight that for a reason, and that um, they're looking for Fed speak now. So remember, the talk was they're going to have 4 to 6 rate cuts this year. That didn't happen. Now they had a rate cut of 0.50. So the market had already kind of priced that in before they did it, because rates were 6.1, and then they came out and did the 0.50 cut, and now they're 6.2. Kind of went the opposite way of people thought, right? Well, how come they're not continuing to go down now if we really think there's going to be a November rate cut and a December rate cut? Well, it's because of what Powell said. He's saying here, I'm going to add this up. Interest rate cuts are ahead, but the Fed is not in a hurry. And he's saying, for now, it looks likely the U.S. economy could avoid a recession as inflation plunges and labor markets remain healthy. Lower rates could help a guaranteed soft landing, but some risks remain. So we don't know if that's going to happen. Rob here says, yes, the market's changing. It's been slowly changing for the last year. This trend will continue. Rick, enjoy the show. Thank you. Appreciate you being on there, Rob. It is slow. And I think, we're feeling it out there. I mean, it's just not, it's not in brisk. Oh, look, I'm in a circle now. StreamYard has changed. If you haven't used StreamYard, for those of you that want to learn how to live stream or do live stream, I'm jumping off topic here for a moment, but I got notice today that they've changed a lot of things within StreamYard. I'm now able to share my screen in 1080p, which before was 720. So if you see any increase in the quality, let me know. I got a link down below in case you're looking to get StreamYard. I recommend it if you do any live streaming at all. But so that's enough for my commercial. I'll look at the average square foot again. Here's my list price for square feet under contract. It's flat, just kind of sitting right there. Nothing going on. And then I look and see this article, which I found this morning. What's the highest mortgage rate you'd take on for buying a home? This is share of U.S. homeowners and renters who plan to purchase their next home with a mortgage, excluding those who are unsure. If they're not sure, they didn't put them in this. We've said that the magic mortgage rate's about 5.5, but it gets kind of muddy when you look at affordability, because affordability, where house prices have not come down to make it really easy for everybody, but they're still saying, they got down to 5.5. I might make a move. That might even make people some people exit out of their 3% mortgage to get something else. Today's mortgage rate 6.2, only 21% said they're going to play in that sandbox. 47% said I'm in at 5%. And then, of course, between 4.5 and 4.9, 57% to get in there. The 100% and 95% of people are saying that 3 to 3.5%, I'm in. Newsflash. If we get down to 3 to 3.5%, again, it's because we've got bigger problems. Seller concessions is also impacting that data. Let's say sales price 500,000, but includes 20,000 seller concession. Net price is really 480, not really 100% sales price to list price. I agree. And I'm going to look at that number. We're going to pull up concessions because even that's getting muddier. And I'll explain too. Vic said 5% for me. So you're in that range here. The magic mortgage rate, 47%. Let me pull up for a moment. There I am circled again. Let me pull up our average concessions here for just a moment, which is seller paid closing costs. Now, I said this is getting muddy, and I'll say why here in a minute. We went from average median concession at 10,000 to it's still sitting at 10,000, but 55% of the homes are offering seller concessions. Some of those numbers inside that are sellers offering buyer agent compensation, gets rolled into concessions. So it's like, okay, well, what does this number really mean now? Is the compensation you're asking buyer agent now rolled in and it's average 10,000? Just going to have to watch that for a while and see what happens. And Rob says rates need to fall to low fives, high fours is where rates need to go, or homes have to come down a lot. Or Rob, a combination of the two, perhaps, which I think we're starting to see. Um, Here's an interesting chart here of the consumer price index layered with federal funds effective rates that I put in. It's showing here, do new homes incentives muddy the waters at all? Yeah, they do. It doesn't show up in the MLS data though as much. Just not seeing a lot of that. Well, and this is what we're going to talk about when Jessica and I go out to the new home communities. What are you offering? What's the mortgage rates you're seeing? What kind of incentives? Anyway, back to this chart. Let me blow it up here just a little bit. It seems kind of tiny. This is showing you what happened back in the late 70s. The green line is inflation. And right about the red line here is effective federal funds rate. So back in the late 70s here, you can see that they cut rates here. And they may have cut them too soon because we had a recession here. Remember that recession, the Arab oil embargo, all that fun stuff. Actually, as the Arab oil embargo was after this. But the 70s, 72, 73, 74 was pretty tough. So they cut rates, but they reignited inflation when they did that. Went up like crazy. You can see here that federal funds rate was 18.9. Chairman Volcker had to really clamp down to get this inflation down. And so inflation, federal funds rate here, let's see, what is this I'm looking at? Federal funds rate, and this is the effective federal funds rate. This is the inflation number here. So anyway, got inflation beat down. Well, now you're looking here that our federal funds rate, which is the red line here, or inflation's the red line, has flatlined, and our federal funds rate has come down. Chairman Powell does not want to repeat this problem that we had in the 70s where he reignited inflation in the market. So they're getting closer to their 2% goal, but they're just being very careful. So it doesn't look like we're going to see a big rate cut in November, maybe 0.25, maybe not, but they're certainly debating it. Now our biggest problem is the Middle East. And the big strike of longshoremen on the East Coast and the Gulf Coast. It's going to drive prices up if that strike prolongs. We're going to have some shortages of food. And what really hurts in this information market, you just whisper the word, we might run short of toilet paper, and there's going to be a run on paper in Costco once again. So we've got all that out there, and the price of oil is starting to go up because of the turmoil in the Middle East, and that's going to affect inflation too. But then again, the Federal Reserve monitors inflation sometimes and takes out housing and energy. I don't know why, but they do. So we still got this site here that's new. I want to show you again. This is called Getcha. And this is in beta testing right now. And it's you can see what buyers are looking for near you. What if you're a realtor, you can actually put your house on here and see if it matches what any of the buyers are looking for in that area. If you're a buyer, you can put your wants down here. You got to send me an email with your name and email address, and then I can set you up with a link here. You can go in and go, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. I want an RV gate. I don't want an HOA. You can put in all the details, and it'll spit out anything that fits your criteria, providing the agents have listed it there. And so it's an interesting new website. We'll see how that pans out. The other thing that I'm waiting to see updated here, I like looking at the Cromford Market Index, and it gets updated probably around the 5th or 6th of the month, and that is right down here where these red line, which is demand, and the blue line, which is inventory, Are they going to cross? Or right now they've just met? They're kissing. They're right in the middle there. And will they cross? And if they cross, if the blue line gets above the red line, pricing pressure on the downside starts showing up. So we'll see what happens. Those are the numbers that I like to track and look at. We've got take a look at the new build that the video that came out last night, Jessica and I. We probably had more fun than we should have. We were just yakking, but it's interesting. I don't understand in some of the new build communities some of the secrecy that they have, and we didn't record what the sales agent told us outside of she was just showing us some of the lot premiums, but she was explaining to us that there were a lot of people on the wait list for one particular model, and the number seemed extremely high to me. She wouldn't share the number. I don't know where Jessica got the number. She said there were about 400 people, but the sales agent said that the wait list started in December and they're just now starting to get to that. But she wouldn't share it with us. In other words, she doesn't go, well, let's take a look at this. I'll show you how many people are actually on the wait list. They keep things very close to the vest in these sales centers. And that can be kind of irritating. We had this big lawsuit because we were accused of fixing compensation. But new builds seem to be getting away with a lot when it comes to not sharing stuff with you. So that's one of the things I want to look at when I go out there. I'm not saying they're being cagey, but I'm like, can you just tell us? I mean, how many people are on your wait list? If you're going out there and you want to buy a home and you want to be on the wait list, you want to get some sense for how long you're going to wait, or even if you do want to wait, and if it's true. So I'd like to see the numbers, the math behind that. And they just seem to not want to share it. So I hope as you see more and more of this, we're going through new construction, that you pick up on some strategies that they have there, and you determine that you shouldn't probably go at it alone. You should go in there with your realtor, and they are offering buyer broker compensation for your buying agent. So that's a good thing. They have, in fact, some places have even increased it. They get to advertise that. We don't. When we put a listing on the MLS and we're offering buyer broker compensation, which we are doing with all of our listings, we don't get to put that in the MLS anymore. We get to put it on our website, but we don't get to state it. However, new builds can. So it's the goofiest thing I've ever seen in my life, and it's just going to take time to shake out. So let me know what you think of all that nonsense. Have you, those of you in the chat here, have any of you gone to an open house, and did the agent in the open house tell you you are now required to sign in? Tell me if you were required to sign in, because I've seen agents say, well, because of the new law, August 1st, you got to sign in. Vic says, should I be aggressive in negotiations with new home builders? Absolutely. Depends on the area. We're going to go out to Blossom Rock next week. It's a new area. Yes, Vic, were you told that you had to sign up at an open house? How did you handle that? I think it's good to be aggressive with everything right now. It's a balanced market. You don't know if you don't ask. Be aggressive. Some people will view it as insulting when you get an offer and they go, oh man, that's the worst offer I've ever seen in my life. Well, shoot me a counter offer. Tell me what you're more comfortable with. Because an offer is an open invitation to negotiate. You should never just reject an offer. You've just kicked them to the curb. I don't recommend doing that. So one time I had, especially on standing inventory, absolutely running at altitude. Yeah, if you're sitting there looking at a new build and they don't have a wait list, and if their sales are soft and they're not going, you'll probably see the incentives show up before you have to go in and ask for it, especially this time of year, because their books close, I think, in October. So you're going to see some deals out there. They may not feel like deals because house prices are so ridiculously high, but you'll see some reductions. You'll see some price reductions, some interest rate incentives. That's another thing. You get the interest rate incentives if you use their preferred lender. So the builder is buying down the mortgage, but they only buy down the mortgage with their lender. They can't give you money to buy down the mortgage with another lender that may even be able to lower the mortgage further. So it's a very curious way to do business. And I did see one of the things I did see yesterday that in the video, I really want to caution people too when you're looking at new builds. And that is, you walk in these homes, they're beautiful. And they're beautiful because of the touches they had on the ceilings, the wood, the furniture is unbelievable. Everything's upgraded, the best in lighting, the best in fixtures. Go to the actual home that is done with no improvements. And you see the standard ceiling fan, the standard faucet, the standard countertops, standard tile. And then you realize how much money was put into this model home to make it shine. There's probably another $150,000 put into there just to make it look like $1 million. And then you go and look at the other one, and you go, this doesn't look anything like that model home. I've done that. You say, wow, this is fabulous. When I first moved here, I went to the foothills and looking at houses, looked at foothills. I looked at Ocotillo, and the house in the foothills, we were in love with it, but we finally went to Ocotillo and we saw another home, and we went back to the foothills, and I said, can we go see the actual home that's for sale? And the model home was on the hill, and we were there at sunset, and the view was breathtaking. And what was happening was I was caught up in the view and the house, and they took us down the road and showed me the house that was next to a road that had a really small lot that was all dirt and no improvements in the fixtures, absolutely zero view. What a letdown. I said, no, we're not doing this. We got caught up in looking out the window. The house was beautiful. Everything was just incredibly set up, but I knew I couldn't afford that kind of furniture and fixtures. So we settled on Ocotillo, and I was very happy with that home. Yeah, Vix is so true. New homes are fun though. If you want to go in and take a look and see how you want to decorate your home, that's the place to go. Getting back to what Vic said here on being told that you have to sign an agreement to look at an open house, that's a hard no. And let me touch on that agreement for just a moment too, because the agreement gives me permission to show you a house. It doesn't bind you to anything. It also says in the agreement what my fee is, and that's negotiable. I go, if you, I charge X percentage. Okay, that's my fee to handle the transaction. And I'm going to do all we can to get that through seller concessions. And if they are short of what my fee is, do you agree to make up the difference on your end? Now, you can walk away from a house that doesn't offer full compensation for me, or we can continue to negotiate that. But the seller permission to show, that form doesn't bind you to using me. You can sign that with several agents. So I'm going to put a seller permission to show you homes this month. You can do that with another agent. Now that's different than agency. Agency is you've now hired me to be your representative because we've written the contract. You can't go and switch to another agent at that point once we have signed the agency document. But the permission to show document, don't lose any sleep over it because it doesn't bind you to anything. You're good to go. I would never buy retail 6%. Doesn't bother me too much if I can buy it at a good discount. I like Sierra Vista 300,000. Sierra Vista is a nice looking place, but boy, it's a long way from places. Knockdowns are $1 million here in Hawaii. Everything's expensive in Hawaii. My advice or insight, every realtor seems to be pushing me into a new home build well outside my price range. What am I missing? Well, define pushing. They may be saying these rates are really much better than resale. Let's take a look at it. But everything's up to your tolerance. If you're being pushed out of your comfort zone, stick to your guns and let your agent know, look, hey, I'm trying to stay within this price range. And yeah, I appreciate their interest rates, but I'm concentrating on price. But be open to the conversation that, the payment may be considerably lower in a new build than resale. But then again, resale, I mean, you can buy a house that's already got a pool. You don't have to spend $100,000 to put a pool in a new build community, and they don't include pools in those anymore. So you have to go out and get that on your own. So again, it all boils down to um, what you want, and is the agent listening to what you want? Agents, don't let anybody, your accountant, your lender, anybody push you into something that you don't want. It used to crack me up when I moved several times, corporate moves, and the lender would say, Rick, here's the price that you qualify for. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I, I don't know how you came up with that math, but I can't afford that house. I mean, thank you. It's a nice compliment, but either that or I was just a bad budgeter. But I'm glad I didn't do that. And you kind of get whipsawed into that sometimes. You've got this number in your head. I don't want to be above this payment. And then you submit for a pre-qual and they come in. It's like the payment's twice as much and they tell you still qualify. Well, they're looking at your debt to income ratio. So they're looking at your current bills. They're looking at your fixed payments and then the new mortgage. And they're going, you can qualify for this. But they don't know how many vacations you take. They don't know how much gas you spend in your car. They don't know a lot of things because it's not just fixed payments that come out of your checking account. It's your lifestyle. So you're the only one that knows that. And when you're out looking for new homes, looking at resale homes, don't let anybody push you out of your comfort zone and out of your lifestyle. We get accused a lot of sending listings that are above the price that, buyers want. So, they'll give me and say, Rick, I want to be at no more than 550,000. Now, occasionally I will say, look, here's one for 560. Let's see if we can pull it back. And let me know if you don't want me to send you anything over 550. I will put together a search that's slightly higher than your price, not to push you to offer that price, but to get homes that are close to it so that we can negotiate them back down to your range. Because, look, we don't make any money if you don't buy anything. So saying that I make more money on the 560 house than the 550, well, if you don't buy the 560 house, I don't make a dime. So we don't push you up for that reason. We try to show you what else is out there and see if there's any opportunities for us to get involved. Sometimes you can look at a house and it's $600,000, and then you find out they're willing to take 550. Well, what if you never looked at that house for 600,000 and your budget was 550? So there's, don't flick that off your desk right away. Go ahead and be open to looking at things outside your price range. But again, stick to your guns. Don't let anybody talk you into anything. I hope that helps. I appreciate everybody that came on this morning. We're going to have our live show with Pat and probably Jessica on Thursday evening at 5 p.m. Till then, enjoy this heat. Take care.